So when talking about vinyl and all the physical, more tactile aspects of the vinyl listening experience, um, I've said a couple of times already that you don't get the same experience with streaming from an app, no matter how big your hi-fi setup is. It's just the physical aspect of the music media that it has a whole different dimension. And to me, it was long forgotten. I listen to music as a music fan. I always listen to music, and I've done so all through the years. But coming back to the vinyl experience has really revived some memories from my youth, from when I initially started listening to music. So today, I want to talk about Dire Straits. Dire Straits. I first ever heard Dire Straits, I guess, in the summer of 82, 83. And the first listening experience I had, back in my youth, my family had a huge farm. And on that farm, there was a cousin of mine who was 10 years older than I am. And he listened to music from current adult contemporary music, pop and rock. But I was very young, and I hadn't really listened to any kind of music at that point. So I was about 10 in 82. So the first he was building a new hi-fi setup, and he was building his own speakers out of Kef, the English speaker brand Kef, Kef, out of units that he bought, and he would build his own boxes and stuff. So for testing, we would listen to the first Dire Straits album. And since I started re-listening to vinyl, I've re-bought most of the Dire Straits catalog, because there's just something about Dire Straits. Maybe it's sentimental, but I really enjoy listening to particularly the early Dire Straits albums, I must say. This one is among my favorites. It's not my all-time favorite, but it's certainly up there. The first, Sultans of Swing and Down to the Waterline, and that whole energy that was or is in these songs is fantastic. I actually had to buy this. There are two copies in this plastic sleeve, because the first copy I bought was simply too noisy, too scratchy, which leads me to complain a little bit about the wet cleaning of vinyl records. What is that? What's that about? Unless a record is really bad, in really bad condition, and really with fingerprints and dirt all over it, why would you ever wet clean a record? Because no matter how good you can clean it and remove all the water and liquids, you will leave residue in the grooves, and that makes a noise, a background noise, and that's really annoying to me. So stop doing that. I've seen so many vintage record dealers. They with pride they say that they wet clean everything. Don't do that. It's just not. It does not do anything good to the listening experience. So the next uh, is Communique, and that's also one of my favorite. I mean, the first four albums are amongst my four favorite Dire Straits albums. Um, no particular order really, but I really do enjoy this one as well. It's just, the musical style and the energy is a bit along the same lines as the debut album that I showed just before. So Communique, there. This is Once Upon a Time in the West. Where You Think You're Going is a good one, and yeah, great stuff. Released in 1979. And here is Making Movies. Making Movies is probably my second. I just said no particular order, but this is my second favorite Dire Straits album. Tunnel of Love and Romeo and Juliet. I mean, fantastic songs. Just fantastic songs. This is the first album without David Knopfler. Yeah, I mean, really great. I enjoy the, the sort of they evolved from just being a guitar, bass, and drums based band. Here we, for the first time, we hear some piano and keyboards. I mean, it's much more in the forefront, and that's a whole new aspect to Dire Straits, or was at the time, and I enjoy that. Making Movies is a great album, and there are really just good songs on this one. My all-time favorite Dire Straits album, however, is Love Over Gold. And this, well, it's a bit in a different direction from the first three albums. This one is much more laid back, much more reflective, much more piano and keyboard based. Nevertheless, it is a fantastic album, and the recording quality is top notch. It sounds so good, and this is a vintage. It's not an original print, but I found this in a vintage store for, I think, about 15 euros, and it's in good condition, and it's not noisy or anything. Obviously, haven't been wet cleaned. So yeah, this is my favorite, and all over the internet, this is debated whether or not this is a good Dire Straits album at all. I think it is. Telegraph wrote 14 minutes, almost 15 minutes long. Yeah, just fantastic. Just a really great album. And the last Dire Straits album that I have, I mean, after Love Over Gold, they released an EP, Twisting by the Pool, which I have seen around in record stores. Still a little too expensive for my taste. I might buy it someday. I like that song. And then they released Alchemy, the live album. But a live album, I mean, Dire Straits, when they play live, they extend their songs, or when they played live, because they no longer play live. Mark Knopfler does that, and I believe he plays Dire Straits back catalog songs. But they were extended to well, I used to enjoy it, but really the best versions of any song, almost always, in my opinion, is the original studio version, as the band or the artist intended it to be. So yeah, Alchemy, I've seen it around for 20 euros, I think, here in Munich, where I live. I might do it one day when I find no other things that I really want to buy. But but a live album of Dire Straits, it's not on top of my list. Although I do enjoy the saxophone solo on Alchemy just before Tunnel of Love. I think that's a great. I think it's Mel Collins playing that saxophone solo, and that is great. That it's worth listening to the album, but I don't know if it's worth buying the album just for that. So the last Dire Straits album that I want to show, I do not have the last ever released Dire Straits album on Every Street. I don't know if it was ever released on vinyl, and if it is released now, it's probably a recent press. But this is an original press from Brothers in Arms from 1985. It's a German press. Not my favorite Dire Straits album, but I did listen to it quite a lot at the when it was released. You know, obvious hits, Money for Nothing, and Walk of Life. It's really not representative of anything Dire Straits, in my opinion. Walk of Life is a song that was overplayed, in my opinion. Probably did financially well for Dire Straits, but it's really not my favorite Dire Straits song at all, and I usually skip that song, to be honest. But So Far Away, the opening song, is a really good song, and I do enjoy the title song, Brothers in Arms, of course. The whole album is good to listen to. I can listen to it throughout and enjoy the experience. So after this, it took 6 years for Dire Straits to release their final album, On Every Street. Didn't come until 91. And that album is, in my opinion, better than Brothers in Arms. So if I see it on vinyl someday, I might buy it. So there you have it, my Dire Straits collection. You're welcome to leave comments to what I've said. Have a great day.